The Oak and the Reeds, a bedtime retelling of the traditional fable. Welcome to Quiet by Coin. Tonight, let's make your world just a little quieter. I'm glad you're here. Whatever today has asked of you, whatever thoughts have followed you into this moment, you don't need to carry all of them any further tonight. Tomorrow will bring its own work, its own questions, its own decisions. But for now, there is nothing else you need to be, nothing you need to finish, nothing you need to solve. Allow yourself to settle into whatever position feels most comfortable. Let your head rest, let your hands become still, and take one slow, easy breath. There's no need to force it. Just breathe in and gently let it go. Tonight, I'd like to tell you a story. One that has traveled from voice to voice for generations. Its exact wording has changed over time. Different storytellers have placed it beside different rivers, beneath different skies, and within different storms. But the lesson at its center has remained much the same. It is called The Oak and the Reeds. Along the bank of a quiet river, there stood a great oak tree. It had grown there for many years. Its trunk was broad. Its bark was rough and deeply lined. Its roots reached far beneath the earth, holding tightly to the soil along the riverbank. Its branches stretched outward and upward, forming a wide canopy of green leaves. Throughout the changing seasons, the oak remained. Summer sunlight warmed its branches. Autumn winds carried away its leaves. Winter covered its roots with frost. And spring returned color to the riverbank once again. The oak had endured many years of weather, and it was proud of its strength. Not far away, close to the edge of the water, grew a bed of slender reeds. They were narrow and delicate. Their roots rested in the soft earth near the river, and their long stems moved whenever the air passed over the water. Even in a mild breeze, the reeds would bend. They leaned in one direction, then slowly returned, only to bend again when the wind changed. The oak often watched them. From its place high above the riverbank, the reeds seemed fragile. They appeared unable to resist even the lightest wind. One calm afternoon, as a breeze traveled across the river, the oak looked down at the reeds and spoke. "How unfortunate it must be," said the oak, "to possess so little strength. The smallest breath of wind causes you to bow. Even when the river is calm, you cannot remain upright. Look at me. My trunk is firm. My roots are strong. I stand against the wind, and I do not yield." The reeds continued to move gently with the breeze. After a moment, one of them answered, "You are strong. There is no denying that. But we do not bend because we believe ourselves defeated. We bend because the wind is stronger than we are. When it passes, we rise again." The oak rustled its leaves. "To bend is weakness," it replied. "Strength means standing firm. A tree should resist the storm, not bow before it." The reeds did not argue. They simply continued to move with the air, leaning when the wind asked them to lean, and returning when it allowed them to rise. For a time, the river remained peaceful. The afternoon light rested across the water. Small ripples moved along the bank. Birds passed overhead, and the reeds swayed quietly beneath the oak. But farther away, beyond the river, The sky had begun to change. Clouds gathered on the horizon. At first, they appeared as little more than a dark line in the distance. Then they rose higher, spreading across the sky, slowly covering the afternoon light. The breeze strengthened. The surface of the river became restless. Leaves turned up on their branches, revealing their pale undersides. The birds disappeared into the trees. The reeds leaned with the growing wind. The oak remained upright. The first drops of rain began to fall. They landed softly upon the leaves, upon the river, and upon the earth beneath the oak. Then the rain grew steadier. The distant clouds moved closer. And somewhere beyond the river, thunder rolled across the darkening sky. The storm had arrived. The reeds bent low as the wind swept over the water. Their narrow stems leaned nearly to the ground. But they did not break. When the wind shifted, they moved with it. When it eased, they rose slightly. When another gust came, they bent once more. The oak stood against the storm. Its trunk remained rigid. Its branches shook beneath the force of the wind, but it refused to yield. Rain poured through its leaves. The earth around its roots became soft and heavy with water. Still, the oak resisted. The wind grew stronger. Its branches twisted. Some of the smaller limbs cracked and fell into the riverbank, but the oak held itself upright, certain that standing firm was the only proof of strength. The reeds continued to bow. They offered the storm no battle. They allowed each gust to pass over them and through them. The river rose around their stems. Rain pressed them towards the earth. Still, they bent. And still, they remained rooted. Then came the strongest wind of the night. It moved across the river with a deep and rising sound. The reeds folded beneath it. The oak met it with all the strength it possessed. For one moment, the great tree seemed immovable. Then all the wet earth beneath its roots began to give way. The oak's trunk groaned, its branches strained, and with a sound that echoed across the river bank, the mighty oak was torn from the ground. It fell heavily beside the river, its great branches resting across the earth it had stood above for so many years. The storm continued through the night. The rain fell. The river moved quickly beneath the dark sky. The reeds remained bent, low against the ground, waiting without resistance. And eventually, as every storm does, this one began to pass. The wind softened. The rain became lighter. The thunder moved far into the distance, until it was only a quiet rumble beyond the horizon. By morning, the clouds had begun to separate. Soft light returned to the river. The water settled, and one by one, the reeds slowly lifted themselves upright. They were wet. They were tired, but they were still standing. Beside them lay the fallen oak, once certain that strength meant never yielding. And so the reeds had survived the storm, not because they were stronger than the oak, but because they understood when to bend. It is a small story, an oak, a bed of reeds, a passing storm. And yet people have continued telling it for generations. Perhaps that is because every life has its own weather. There are calm seasons, when the days feel predictable, and the path ahead seems clear. And there are other seasons, when circumstances change quickly, plans are interrupted, responsibilities become heavier. Something arrives that cannot be controlled, reasoned with, or pushed aside. When that happens, it can be tempting to believe that strength means refusing to move, holding every position, carrying every burden, resisting every change. The oak believed that yielding would make it weak, but the reeds understood that bending was not the same as surrendering. They did not abandon their roots. They did not allow the storm to carry them away. They simply adjusted to a force they could not control, and trusted themselves to rise when it had passed. There may be times when standing firm is necessary. There may be moments when courage means refusing to move. But there are also times when strength looks quieter than that. It may look like resting, changing direction, asking for help, letting go of a plan that no longer serves you, allowing a difficult moment to pass without demanding that you defeat it. Not every storm must be fought. Some can simply be weathered. And perhaps, for tonight, you don't need to solve everything that has been weighing on you. You don't need to settle every question before you sleep. You don't need to hold yourself rigid against the uncertainty of tomorrow. You can remain rooted in who you are, while allowing yourself to soften, to rest, to bend for a little while beneath the weight of the day. Morning will arrive in its own time, and when it does, you may find yourself ready to rise again. As you continue listening tonight, imagine the river after sunset. The reeds move gently along the bank. The fallen oak rests quietly beneath the dark sky. Rain begins to touch the surface of the water, one drop at a time. Far away, thunder rolls beyond the horizon. There is no danger here. Only weather, only water. Only the slow movement of the wind. The storm does not ask anything of you. You do not need to watch it closely. You do not need to know when it will end. You may simply listen as the rain falls, as the river continues on its way, and as the reeds move easily with the wind. There is nothing more you need to do tonight. The story has been told. The lesson can remain with you or drift away into the rain. If sleep finds you before the storm reaches its end, then let it. Thank you for spending part of your evening with me. May your world be just a little quieter tonight. Good night. Sleep well.